I'm Tom Moore, current president of the Marina Democratic Club. The club exists in part to do these sorts of forums on issues of interest to folks in the local area, and certainly elections. The upcoming November election is definitely of interest to folks in the local area. So let me give you a quick background about how we're going to proceed tonight. We're going to first have two candidates for mayor, our two mayoral candidates. We will then be followed by two candidates for the Board of Trustees of Monterey Peninsula College. And finally, we have an onslaught of 5 candidates for 3 seats at the Board of Directors of Marina Coast Water District. With respect to the mayoral candidates, we're going to give candidates 2 minutes for opening statements. The club executive committee has put together 4 questions, which will be given to the candidates, and they'll get 2.5 minutes each on those questions. But you, the public, are certainly welcome to submit questions. I believe there are 3x5 cards and pencils available in the back of the room or up here. If you have a question that you'd like to submit to the question pool for the public questions, we have some folks who'd be happy to pick them up. Our Vice President, Mr. David Burnett, is going to be trying to pick the best of the crop of questions we get, and our candidates will each get up to 4 questions and have 1.5 minutes on each of those, and then finally we'll go to 1-minute closing statements for both candidates. The process will be similar for MPC and for Marina Coast Water District. The only difference you might note is due to the large number of candidates and seats for Marina Coast, the time frames will be a little bit shorter. We'll talk about those when we get to that point. So, if we, oh yes, thank you. So, candidates, our illustrious timer and treasurer has what looks to me like a yellow card from soccer and a red card if necessary, but she also has a bell to let you know when your time is up. So I believe you're going to give them the yellow card warning at 20 seconds remaining. All right? So let's go to our mayoral candidates. Well, I'm going to read their bios, and then we'll do a coin toss and see who goes. And I believe, did you put the bios in the order of how they're appearing on the ballot?
I actually don't remember doing it.
Okay.
Probably did.
At any rate,
Yeah,
we
I think
will.
that's what I did.
So Bruce Delgado, since being elected mayor of Marina, Bruce has served as the city's leading voice for the press, speaking to regional and state agencies and the public on matters such as mobile home rent control, efforts towards closure of the CMEX sand plant, and concerns about Calam's proposed desal plant that could severely harm Marina's drinking water. Bruce has also served on the board of directors of the Transportation Agency of Monterey County, Monterey Salinas Transit, and the local agency Formation Commission. He currently serves as chair of the Monterey Regional Waste Management District. Our other candidate for mayor is Bob Nolan. Bob Nolan spent 30 years with the Marina Police Department, retiring as a commander. He supervised the Investigation Bureau, Records Bureau, Property and Evidence Unit, and was the Public Information Officer. He's a graduate of San Diego State and the FBI Command Leadership Program. Bob is past president of the Monterey County Peace Officers Association and the president of the Marina Police Activities League. He's coordinator of the Thanksgiving and Christmas meal programs, working with local police and fire agencies and Meals on Wheels, who ensure no one goes without a meal during the holidays. He's also a mediator for the Restorative Justice Partners, finding resolutions to juvenile crime cases as an alternative to prosecution. So in terms of who gets to go forward,
Keep track of it. I don't know.
well, there it is.
There.
So we'll have our mayor call heads or tails.
Tails.
Heads it is. What's your preference? 4. 4 to go first.
Yep.
All right.
As opposed to half?
Hey, so what do we got?
So it's 2 minutes. 2 minutes for opening statement.
I have questions, correct? So the public knows. The first question is, do you believe the Fort Ord Reuse Authority?
They have done
No.
everything.
I'm sorry, let me say yes, thank you. Wait.
Are we on?
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me? Okay. As you heard, my name is Bob Nolan, retired commander with the Marina Police Department. Back in 1980, in fact, I remember July 4th weekend, 1980, my wife and I moved to Marina. At the time, everybody used to go, why did you move to Marina? And our answer was, it was a good, wholesome community, and everybody referred to it as the Dome. Okay, and that's, I think we've come a long way from being known as that's the location for the Dome. We raised our daughter here. She was born in 1983. She went through the local school system. When she decided to go to college, she decided to move back to the state of Ohio. And she was a graduate of Dayton University, and also she became a doctor along, and make it short. Back in Ohio, she now works with Cleveland Clinic. My wife is not here tonight because she's back there. We just had our first grandbaby, and maybe our only grandbaby, and my wife did not want to miss on that opportunity. But prior to going into law enforcement, I was a truck driver. I told a few people out in the lobby there. I was a milkman, okay? I negotiated labor contracts for drivers, and I was one of those drivers. You know, I was a blue-collar worker. Then when I decided to get out of the milk business, I put myself through the police academy at Gatlin and became a police officer here for the last 30 years. Did I get underneath that?
Thank
You
you.
did
Reset it.
indeed.
I'm going to reset it, and then Bruce, I'll start it when you start to speak.
Mayor Delgado.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. You should know I'm an environmentalist and a scientist. And as your elected mayor, with the support of the majority of our community, I've worked hard to establish an urban growth boundary, which is unique in Monterey County's history, and has ensured Marina's focus and progress on Fort Ord to redevelop abandoned building areas there instead of putting urban sprawl on open space north of town. I worked hard as Marina's leader toward the closure in 2020 of the Cemex sand plant that has been damaging Marina's coastline, our coastline, since 1906. I believe in social justice, and it took 12 years of controversy to establish in Marina, Monterey County's only mobile home rent control, which relieves 399 families in Marina from the economic insecurity they had before rent control. I've served for 14 years as treasurer to bring you Marina's Farmers Market, where local farmers provide us healthy food, and we have a community gathering space every Sunday. Environmental justice, the last 2 years I've been busy meeting with state and regional leaders to stop Cal-Am from damaging Marina's drinking water supply. Public safety, as you know, Marina is a safe community with a great public police department. We signed just this year a 3-year labor contract with our Police Officers Association and ordered a $604,000 new fire engine. Is that over?
You're just
20 seconds.
20 seconds. Fiscal responsibility, we've had several years now of sustainable 18 to 20 million and growing budget. We've invested wisely to bring Marina a new theater, restaurants, Marriott Hotel, and these investments will pay dividends for decades for our streets, parks, and downtown. As your volunteer and hardworking mayor, I look forward to more exciting progress and initiatives that are bold and creative so we can continue in Marina to be the best place on earth. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Delgado. All right. Reminder, by the way, if you have a cell phone, please make sure you put it on silent. So we go to the questions. Question number 1. And we will be swapping orders, so Mayor Delgado gets this question first. Do you believe, and it's 2.5 minutes, do you believe the Fort Ord Reuse Authority should sunset in 2020? And why or why not?
I believe it should sunset in 2014. But if 2020 is the soonest we can do, then let's do that. My thought has always been, since watching the implementation of the Fort Ord Reuse Authority, that Marina basically gets the shaft. We give the team effort all of their money, we are the driving economic engine, and then they spread it out across Fort Ord. So they take from Marina and they give to everyone. The other jurisdictions, compared to our $70, $80 million that we've given Fort Ord, the next nearest jurisdiction is the county, which has given about $7 million, the city of Seaside about $3 or $4 million. So you can see that we are out of balance and being used as the real estate asset liquidation. So they get green money and spend it for projects that really damage the Fort Ord environment, such as East Side Parkway planning, and it's just not in our best interest if FORA, the next 20 years, because some of them want to stay till 2035, if they behave the way they have the last 20 years, it would be dismal for us. So I think that the capital improvement project that they have, which is close to $200 million, is an example of how we do not get a fair shake at this. Because few of those projects are in Marina, and most of the money for all of the projects in the CIP has come and is planned to come from Marina in the next 10 to 15 years. So I do hope that FORA sunsets in 2020, because Fort Ord itself is a local treasure, a regional treasure, but it's not being managed to be all that it can be for things like 4 tags, 32-mile bicycle and pedestrian greenway. Those should be priorities so that we emphasize the ability for Fort Ord to increase the health of our community in different ways, rather than building developments in open space and new roads across Fort Ord that only serve developers' interests. Thank you. That's good.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Bruce.
So once again, do you believe the Fort Ord Reuse Authority should sunset in 2020, and why? Why not?
There really isn't much disagreement with what the mayor just said. I also agree that FORA should have sunset some time ago. I was one of the people in the audience, I believe it was 1994, and I turned to the folks on the front and said, FORA will never go away. They will find a way to reinvent themselves and become a new bureaucracy, and that is exactly what has happened. FORA does not want to sunset. It would be like shooting themselves in the foot, and they want to continue the present policies. It's time that Marina takes charge of its own destiny, and Marina goes ahead and starts making its own decisions and starts planning and implementing some of those decisions. Okay, how are we going to make up some of the shortfill? One of them is going to be with infill. Okay, a good example would be Preston Park. There are also other ways we can be very creative in the way we come about with our financial strategies, and that's what we need to do best. At the risk of sounding like I'm calling names, right now FORA is a parasite, okay? And it's a parasite to the city of Marina. We need to go ahead and start doing our planning, start implementing our policies, and start taking control of what we want to do. And it's time for FORA to go.
Thank you very much. So next question, Mr. Nolan.
Sure.
What are the city needs you believe need to be addressed in the next 4 years, and what are your priorities for those needs?
The city has a variety of needs and a variety of challenges. I think I may disagree with my opponent. The police and fire department right now are in disarray. We have lost a third of our police force to other agencies. And at the present time, the chief, who is a very good chief, by the way, I want to give a call out to our police chief and our fire chief, both commendable people, but they are challenged. Okay. Over the last 4 years, we have had what we call status quo budgets. In other words, there's been no real growth to those departments, and we were told to just do with what you had. There are some major priorities. I'm going to give you an example. There's a great need for a walk-in refrigerator freezer to protect our sexual assault evidence. The present way we do business, we buy a refrigerator. And if anybody knows anything about that technology, it's the refrigerator goes up in temperature and it goes down in temperature to avoid defrosting. Every time that happens in a minute way, it compromises that evidence. We have not been able to go ahead with some of these capital improvement projects that need to be done to give the best service to our public. And I'm in some ways ashamed that we have not done that for our sexual assault victims. It's something that should have been done a long time ago, and it's something that really needs to be done. That is one of my major priorities. I also think our roads are in desperate need of repair. All you have to do is drive down any one of our roads. And how are you going to do that? Well, first of all, you can either tax people more, which I'm not in favor of, or we can grow an economy here in Marina. And we can take advantage of our infill, we can take advantages of our assets, and not just sell them off for one-time revenues, but to go right ahead and to build on that, and we can become self-sustaining. We also need, and probably one of the most important things to do all this, we need to find a sustainable water supply. And we have to, where we have to go back. We can't keep tapping the same aquifers. Okay. We can't keep tapping the aquifers without finding some long-term solution to our water problem. That is going to be a big challenge. And how are we going to do that? We have some great minds in this town. A lot of them are sitting out in the audience right now. We have a great university sitting right next door.
Thank you very much. And next.
I feel terrible when I have to do that. Sorry.
No, you don't.
Sometimes I do.
So, Mayor Delgado, what are the city needs you believe need to be addressed in the next 4 years, and what is your priority? What are your priorities for those needs?
All right. One thing I agree with what Bob said. I agree with most of what he said. But one thing I disagree with what he said is our police department in disarray. I believe, like Bob, that our police chief and our fire chief we're lucky to have them. They are good, professional, capable people. The two of them have agreed that right now, our biggest need in public safety is a second fire engine company, a new crew, so that when you call the fire department, there's somebody there. Right now, 38% of the time, it's a backup call, nobody's home. So they have to then call for mutual aid from a further station, which delays getting to you slower than the national standard. We used to be 6.5 minutes, which is faster. The national standard is 7.5 minutes, but we now are at 8.5 minutes. So we're slower than national standard. So police chief, fire chief have said in public that for now, we're good with the police budget. We need to increase that in the near future. But more immediate is a second fire engine company at the cost of about $1 million a year. I talked to the police chief a few days ago, and she said we have 2 police on, besides the sergeant, patrolling during the hours of 2 to 4 a.m. The rest of the time during the week, we have more than that. And we probably would need, the ideal, would be about 4 officers on patrol, besides the sergeant, 24/7. So to build to that, we would need about 7 more officers over time. But our public safety chiefs have agreed that the best strategy forward is to work on the fire department. So that's why there's 2 tax measures on the ballot this November to raise $2 million new dollars, $1 million of which, as Bob has suggested, we need to increase the quality of our streets. Not extravagantly, right now they're at a D. If we spend $2.4 million each of the next 10 years, they would go up to a C or C minus. Not extravagant, but improvement. So that $2 million that's on the ballot, $1 million we should fight to go to streets, $500,000 or more we should fight to go to the fire department, and the remainder of the $2 million we should fight to go to sidewalks that are missing and park maintenance. But we can decide what to do with the money, but first of all we need to get that, because that's $30 million in the next 15 years that would be coming in at a rate of $2 million per year. If we don't pass those 2 measures, there is no other plan B that is anywhere in the realm of $30 million over the next 15 years.
Okay, reminder to the public, if you have questions, please write them on your cards and make sure they get over to Mr. Burnett.
And
All right.
there's percolators out there.
So the next question will be directed to Bruce Delgado. What do you believe the city should do to enhance the city's revenues?
So I talked a little bit about that, and if you remember the $30 million, it's coming in at $2 million a year if we pass the measures. The money we have now keeps the status quo so we don't lose ground on anything. The new money pushes us ahead of where we are. So if you think of that $30 million in the next 15 years, 10 million would go to our streets, because 1 million per year for 10 years equals 10 million. That brings your 30 million down to 20. About 1 million of that is going to end up going to fire, parks, and sidewalks, and that's another 10 million. So now you're down to your 10 million. The other 10 million could go to things such as 2 million for a senior center, a ladder truck we need to get to the 4th and 5th stories of the VA clinic and other buildings like the Marriott. So there are about $68 million of what we might call near-term need. But the 30 million on November's ballot doesn't get us to the 68 million. But we do need that 30 million, or we'll have a 68 million gap instead of a $38 million gap. The $38 million gap is largely the 37 million that we need to pay back Creston Park loan. We took out a loan to buy the second 50% of Creston Park. We gave FORA 35 million. We needed to get a loan of 37 million to do that. That is a balloon payment due at year 10, which is in about 7 years. We don't have a plan yet to make $37 million in the next 6 years. That's not part of the 30 million on our ballot this November. But if we don't pass what's on November's ballot, we're really behind trying to pay off Creston Park and all of our near-term needs for sidewalks, senior center, fire department, police department, more staff, and more compensation, because there's an upward trend on the cost of all services, not just public safety. So to meet that trend, we have to have an upward trend in revenue. And it starts this November, so I hope everyone can agree on that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nolan. What do you believe the city should do to enhance the city's revenues?
Okay. I think to enhance our city's revenue, what we really need to do is evaluate what we have, what are our assets, and what's the best way to plan to utilize those assets to grow our economy. I think that the police and fire departments are in great need. I think that the taxes that we have passed in past elections, that money should be appropriated to the departments to actually sustain new growth and to bring about some changes. I'd also like to see, and I throw this out as a challenge to our police and fire department, that they evaluate their efficiencies. Now, having been the commander, I can tell you there are a lot of inefficiencies in our city government, and there's a lot of inefficiencies in our police and fire. I think there's to sit back and give them maybe a 2-year window to take a look at how we deliver service and what's the best way and the most effective and affordable way to do service. I think that would be, I think it's a reasonable challenge to our police chiefs. Both are quite capable of doing that, and I think that that is the way we should be going. We need to take a look at what we have, what our futures are. We have Creston Park. We have opportunities there to build within Creston Park, not just sell it out. One-time revenues are not the way to go. We have to start finding out how our, what we have in this city, our assets can grow and bring it back. You're almost on the taxed out. I don't know how everyone feels about taxes, but I am taxed out. And I'm not proposing any new tax, but I am proposing that we put together some good minds, and I'm looking to the public, I'm looking to you out there to come up with some of the strategies. One thing I learned is, as your police commander, you don't come up and you tell people what their problems are, okay? You ask people for input, and you have them tell you what they want to do and what their problems are. And that's what I'm appealing to you. Come up. You know, we got great minds, we have great opportunity, and we are right at, and I think my opponent would agree, we are at the point where we have some great opportunities. Let's take advantage of it and let's do that, let's grow.
Thank you very much. Mr. Nolan, I believe it'll be your turn on question number 4. Performance-based budgeting focuses on results rather than past spending decisions, enabling the cities to make budgetary decisions that better meet community needs and advance city priorities. If elected, what past spending decisions would you address first?
I think that if given that opportunity, I think we are already talking about it. and I'll go back to the inefficiencies of our city government. I think we can cut some of the waste, and we can take a look at the budgeting. My main priority would be just what I talked about, police and fire. It should be guaranteed that when someone picks up that phone and calls for a police officer or a firefighter, that they show up, and that they're not just a body, but that they're a capable body and the best police officer or firefighter we can have. And I think that that's what the public deserves, and I think that's what they should demand. There are inefficiencies within our city government, and I saw many of them. I think that we can clean up our act and move forward. And in the budgetary areas, I would really say we need to take a look and make sure that our police and fire and EMS are well-staffed, funded, and that it's taken care of. Okay.
Thank you. So let me repeat the question for Mr. Delgado. Performance-based budgeting focuses on results rather than past spending decisions, enabling cities to make budgetary decisions that better meet community needs and advance city priorities. If elected, what past spending decisions would you address first?
The first past spending decision I would address, because it's controversial, especially in our community, is the incentive tool. Property tax is no longer the tool it used to be since Prop 13. Redevelopment area money is no longer a tool for us. It was abolished by the state. Sales tax is going to go down in the near future because of online out-competing the retail stores. So that tool is going away. So the tool currently that cities across California use that is still on the table is the incentive tool. And we had 2 cases of this that were controversial. We gave $275,000 cash to a multi-million-dollar corporation called Cinemark, so they would build a theater in Marina, because they left not able to get the bids of construction down within their budget formula. So they'd rather go to Galveston or Austin or somewhere else where they could turn within budget and make the profit they're used to making. After a month they were gone, we said, what would it have taken to have you come? Was it $30,000? Because we could probably afford that. Was it $3 million? We probably couldn't afford that. They said $550,000. The owners of the property said they would put in $275,000 if the city did the same. So it was controversial, kind of a bruising 3-2 decision. We gave the theater $275,000 because experts said they would bring in $22,000 a year in property tax, and the spin-off for new restaurants, hotels, and other things would also bring in economy for us. So we said yes, we gave them $275,000 instead of giving it to the police and the fire and other good projects. They earned $66,000, triple the expectation in their first year selling popcorn and candy sales tax. It's thought that the spin-off is 3 times that in the other outside restaurants, hotels, and other revenues that come in from the theater. So that $275,000 is going to be paid back within maybe 6 years. And it's a morale booster that now our families have a theater to go to in Marina. How many of you have been to the Marina Theater? Most of you. It's a great thing to our morale and our economy, and who's going to look back at the $275,000? That was a success. And then 3 weeks later, we did the same thing for our hotel, the Marriott. We offered them $1 million if they opened by a certain date. They didn't open by the certain date. They didn't get a penny. We got a $100,000 penalty cash from them. They're paying us installments every month because they didn't open on time. And they invested $29 million to build the hotel, and in its first year, it exceeded projections. Instead of $470,000, it brought $550K. Another success.
Thank you very much, Mayor Delgado. So now we come to questions from the public. And I believe Mr. Delgado gets to go first on this.
A wireless microphone would have been another $125. So we decided you guys get to pass it back and forth. There's only a minute and a half.
Yes, there's just a minute and a half on these. So what is your vision for activities for all seniors?
Can you repeat the question, please?
What's your vision for activities for all seniors? Old folks like me, not you.
First and foremost, we need a new senior center. We tried 2 years in a row to get a grant. We didn't get the grant because we're not poor enough. We have less than 50% low and moderate income population. Those cities that have more than 51% of LMI, they're getting the grants that we applied for. We've tried twice. This year we're trying for a third time. Maybe we'll get it. But if we don't get it, we've got to find other ways to get it. We need new money to get it because our current money doesn't allow us to pay for the $2 million senior center. So the activities we have are abundant. They probably don't need to change. But the facility is basically a basketball court that is used by seniors in the morning and youth in the afternoon. So our community center is a youth center and a senior center, but really it's a basketball court. So when we get the seniors their senior center, they already are happy with the programs. Line dancing, yoga, tai chi, field trips to different places, sewing, puzzles. They're good with those programs, but they don't have a facility in which to fully enjoy those programs. I'd like to finish what I was going to say on the incentive program. Some people say, why give it to these affluent companies when we have hardworking moms and pops? And I think that's a good point. We should have a program. We used to have a revolving account for small businesses, but they defaulted, so we left it. But we should go back to that. If you can prove that your locksmith is going to bring in new revenue to the city, we should make an incentive program for you too.
Thank you very much. So, Mr. Nolan, what is your vision for activities for all seniors?
Okay. First of all, in my background, when I graduated from San Diego State University, it was kind of a strange background for going into law enforcement. I was a recreation director for the United States Navy, and I dealt with just this issue about creating new facilities and providing services for our seniors. What everybody has to understand is that recreation is not a for-profit business, okay? Recreation is for those who can't afford to do or pay out of pocket for some of those services. And to think that you can create more than 10 or 15% return on your dollar is really foolish. I agree with my opponent. The facilities here in the city really need to be enhanced. I think it's one of the areas where the seniors are lacking. I think that our recreation director, who I think does a great job of following this, he puts in a lot of hours, but he needs the facilities to actually grow the program and to enhance future development of the elderly program. Yes, I'm already there. I'm 65, okay? And I'm proud of it. And but that's a young 65.
Thank you very much. And again, to Mr. Nolan, your turn. How do you feel about the current 4-day work week in the city of Marina? Every Wednesday, the city office doors are closed.
Thank you for that question. Okay, I think it's I think it's what? It's horrible that we only do 4 days a week. Okay, that office on Wednesday should be open up, and I'm going to tell you why, because I know what goes on Wednesdays behind the scene. It's supposed to be a day that we all catch up. Well, we all catch up on things that we should be doing, but we're not, okay? It's the day that we do birthday parties, we take extended lunch hours, and it's another day that we do not provide a service to the public. That is what we're here for, fans. You know, we are here to provide service to the community. And when you close the door and you say, well, we can't, you know, accommodate the public, and maybe the only day that they have, that you have to come back and it's convenient for when, we want you to come back when it's convenient for us and when it's convenient for you. My staffing issues while I was the commander, I really wanted to extend our hours from 7 in the morning till 7 at night. What kept us from doing that is we didn't have enough staff to cover that. Okay, that building, the police department, it belongs to the public, it belongs to the city, and it is one of those things. The city doors should be open at all times, okay? That's our mission, and that's what we should be doing, and we are not doing that, okay? I know I'm calling out some of my fellow employees, but there's a lot of waste, and that goes back to the government waste that goes on all the time at City Hall.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nolan. Mr. Delgado, how do you feel about the current 4-day work week in the city of Marina? Every Wednesday, the city office doors are closed.
My understanding is that it's a 5-day work week, but on one of those days, Wednesday, the public can't come into the recreation counter or the planning counter. And hearing what Bob just said, you know, I'm fine having it open 5 days a week. It started with the city manager in the past who told us they need that space. So not micromanaging, we said if that's what you need to do your administration, that's what you need to do. If it's time to change that, that's fine. I think much more importantly is to mention a couple things that were mentioned about taxes. One, that we're taxed out. Watsonville, Seaside, Salinas pay more in sales tax than we do. They have similar demographics. So if we're asking our citizens to pay another half-cent sales tax to be where those 3 cities that surround us already are, I think that our citizens can invest similarly. If we don't invest that half-cent, it can be taken by a county agency. In 2014, MST passed a county sales tax. In 2016, Champsey passed a 3/8 cents sales tax. Another agency can get that 5 cent, that half-cent that's left. And then when we buy shoes, that tax will go around the county instead of coming into our city, like Seaside and Salinas and Watsonville already have done. So it's time for us to grab that headroom, that leftover half-cent, to benefit our fire company and our streets, and not let someone else take our tax dollars generated in our city. We need that money for our services, similarly as did Seaside, Salinas, and Watsonville.
Thank you very much, Mr. Delgado. Now, your next question.
Delgado will go first.
What are you going to do about rising rent? Low and middle income families are being pushed out of Marina.
Okay, I am a believer in rent control, but it's a very sensitive issue. Because if you start talking about rent control, you may hurt the very people you're trying to help. Because when you do rent control, you need to move quickly with a freeze so that while you're deliberating, the rents can't go up to beat the control, and then you need to actually enact the rent control. And it's a very controversial issue. The rest of Monterey County would like Seaside and Marina to fill in all of our empty lots with apartments, because it would help to satisfy, but never completely satisfy, the regional need for tens of thousands of new residential units. Too many residential units got us into the economic trouble we've always been in. That is a poor job housing balance. Too few jobs for the number of homes. Too many homes for the number of jobs. So by adding more homes without adding more jobs, or without adding more jobs than homes, we are not helping our economy. We will never satisfy the regional need for housing, whether it be market rate or below market rate, affordable. So we have to move very carefully when we add new housing, that we do our best. And recently, Gail Morton, Frank O'Connell, and I voted no on a 58 apartment complex on DeForest because it was changing commercial into residential, and that wasn't a good thing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nolan. What are you going to do about rising rent? Low and middle income families are being pushed out of Marina.
Well, my first step would be, first of all, we need to look at our antiquated policies, okay? There is an opportunity. There are a lot of homes in Marina that could, if policies changed, could develop mother-in-law cottages like that. We have a lot of college students who are looking for housing, affordable housing. And we also need to look, how are we going to get people to come to Marina? New employees, okay, new businesses. Those people are going to be looking for new housing opportunities. My suggestion is that we go ahead and we change policies and we can start developing infill properties and also the best use of our existing assets when it comes to that. I think that there's a lot of opportunity that we don't take advantage of, and it's time that we start doing that.
All right, thank you, and to you, Mr. Nolan. What have you and what will you do about our water issue in Marina?
Ooh, big question. Water in Marina. I think it's probably one of our greatest challenges. And the thing is we really have got to come up with a sustainable water supply. Okay, you can't keep tapping aquifers, and you can't rely on Cal-Am down the road selling you desal water, because what's happening right now is not meant for Marina, it's meant for the rest of the peninsula. We need to come up with a strategy that we can find a sustainable water supply. How are we going to do that? We better start working on it together. Are we going to go desal? There's pros and cons to desal. You're going to find other water resources. We're rather limited here. You know, I use the analogy sometimes, if someone were to come from outer space and take a look at Marina, and you look out there, and, I don't have the figure, but I had my wife look up how many gallons of water are out there in the ocean, and it's something I've never even heard that figure before. It's gigantic, okay? And they said, how come you have water issues when we can look out over your beach and you got all this water that's available? All this water not a drop to drink. That's where we got to come up with some new strategies. We have to start finding out what we want to do, use our available resources, use our minds. One of the things that I really want to start tapping into is we have some great young minds, some millennials out there that probably, and most of us, I'm looking at the audience, we're mostly baby boomers or Gen Xers. Okay, we probably didn't come up with those answers, but those answers are out there. We just have to find them.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nolan. Mr. Delgado, what have you and what will you do about our water issue in Marina?
The most immediate need is to keep Cal-Am out. Hopefully we avoid litigation and we get the California Public Utilities Commission to turn around. That is more unlikely than likely, so it may need to go to litigation. We've already spent $1.6 million to protect our water, and we don't have that really to spend on that, but we had no choice. But that's first and foremost. Next, desal should be our last resort. Desal is the most energy intensive, the most expensive, and that should not be our first resort. Our first resort should be conservation. The state is about to implement new mandates requiring all California households to not use more than 55 gallons per person per day indoors. In 2030, it's going to go down to 50 gallons per day per person indoors. My wife and I, we use approximately 53 gallons a day for the two of us, so you can divide that in half. We do that by our showers and sinks going to our front yard, our washing machine wastewater going to our backyard, and our kitchen sink going to our side yard, so that we grow food and we don't use a lot of landscaping water. Recycling is the second, not desal. So we have a lot of wastewater in our county, and we have rights to some of that wastewater. So recycling, such as they're doing with Monterey Pure Water, is the second priority.
Thank you very much, Mr. Delgado. And now we go to 1-minute closing statements. But since we are alternating, I believe Mr. Delgado goes first.
All right.
One minute.
Thank you, Tom. So Marina is an opportunity for a community of working class people, such as us, with roots from all over the world, speaking up to 52 languages, to live in harmony and support one another like a family, to help each other and our city grow in positive directions. You may have seen me organizing Eagle Scout beautification projects at our city gateways or Los Arboles Sports Complex, organizing litter pickups around town, cleaning up Lapis Road, leading volunteers to restore a beautiful oak woodland outside of our library here, helping Marina's nonprofits and cultural organizations. You may see me spending time at our schools and being a lead organizer in our Earth Day and Labor Day parade festivals with my wife Natalie. What you may not see are all the meetings I attend to help people who have financial or other problems, because I never say no to a meeting and always give everyone my personal phone number and my email contact. I love Marina, and I ask for your vote to let me continue to serve as your mayor.
Mr. Nolan.
Thank you. Together, we can develop solutions to the challenges that we face. We have at our disposal, like I said, the university, some millennials, people with new and fresh ideas. We need to get the millennials involved in our city government. We're an aging group, folks. Where are they? We need to get them involved, and not just stay behind closed doors. Just to let everybody know, I am a nonpartisan. Okay, I see the value in both sides, whether it be a conservative issue or a liberal issue. I like to see us work together as a community. Boy, that time goes quick.
No, you have 20 seconds.
Okay. And I just want to let everybody know, I don't have all the answers. I'm not a politician. I don't want to be a politician. I'm a community member, and I gave you 30 years of service as a police commander and tried to do it the very right way. You know, we always tried to treat people with respect, and we always tried to do the right thing. We never tried to disrespect any rights.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nolan. Mr. Delgado, please give him a round of applause.